And good afternoon, everybody. Steve Schmidt with the Mourning. And this afternoon from Minneapolis, I'm joined by Marisa George. We are simulcasting this on the Mourning podcast site as well as the Save America movement. And Marisa, can you tell us about the scene at the assassination site of Alex Pretti? What's happening there today? Saw the flowers behind you as ordinary American Minneapolis citizens are coming to pay their respects to one of their fellow Americans murdered by the masked men yesterday.
Yeah, hi Steve. It's good to be with you. Just to let everyone know, I grew up in St. Louis Park, just the next suburb over from Minneapolis, and this community rallies very, very hard when something like this happens, and it's been through so much in the last 6 years. But we are here where Alex Pretti was killed yesterday by federal agents, and I have been here periodically since I landed yesterday in Minneapolis yesterday morning. And there is just a steady stream of people coming here. I mean, when I got here yesterday, what you're looking at now was just basically a small circle with some branches and tree limbs kind of making a circle. And now you can see all the flowers, all the signs, photos of Alex. When I was here earlier this morning, there was a huge group of nurses, fellow nurses. We know Alex Pretti was an ICU nurse at the VA, and we've seen the videos of him, working at the VA. And so this morning, we had a group of nurses down here, and they were chanting, "Nurses want peace. Nurses want peace." And it was, it's hard to explain the grief on the ground here in this community, my community where I was raised, because it's just been through so much, and it continues to be the focus of so much vilification from the administration, and they just want this to stop.
3,000 ICE agents under the command of Stephen Miller, under the command of Christy Nome, Tom Pullman, Corey Lewandowski, and of course Greg Pavino on the ground yesterday, intersected with 37-year-old intensive care unit registered nurse Alex Pretti, a registered nurse working with America's veterans at the VA. He was filming ICE, as was his First Amendment right. He was armed, as was his Second Amendment right. He did not threaten ICE agents. This has been reported. This has been witnessed from many different angles. He was tackled, knocked to the ground. He was disarmed by one ICE agent, and then he was shot down. He was shot 10 times in the back. In the moment that he was murdered, the Trump administration immediately began character assassination of Alex Pretti. Was described as a domestic terrorist. Greg Bovino claimed that he was about to assassinate ICE officers. Alex Pretti never had a run-in with the law a single time in his life. Greg Bovino smeared him. A lot of the correspondents today watched the videos, and they made it seem their text calls or other questions as if the video may leave some doubt about what happened. They said things like the video seems to suggest or seems to say, as opposed to clearly shows, but we know what we all saw, and we know that the government is commanding that we unsee it, the cold-blooded murder of this American citizen. I wonder, Maria, as you talk to people, how upset are they by the reaction of the Trump regime after murdering him, that they engaged in character assassination? The scene behind you does not look like mourning to me for a domestic terrorist. Well, I think we're having some difficulty with Maritza here, who is
Okay,
not
wait, are we
coming
back, Steve?
through.
Are we back?
There we are.
Are we come? Are we back? Okay. So just the constant vilification, not just of the city, but like you said, of Alex Pretti moments after. And we saw the same thing with Renee Good, just an immediate character assassination instead of there needs to be a thorough investigation. And then we saw some of these administration officials try to say that this morning on the Sunday shows. Well, there needs to be an investigation, and they were pressed. Well, then how come DHS Secretary Kristi Noem immediately went on the attack? So people here are mad. People here, they want justice, not only for Alex Pretti, but for Renee Good, for everything that's happening, for little Liam Ramos. There's another 2-year-old girl that we're not talking about that we should be talking about who was deported to Texas. There is just so much to discuss, so much heartbreak, so much grief, so much anger, and it just builds. And I think everyone here wonders what more can happen, what comes next, what comes tomorrow morning, what are we waking up to?
Have any minutes there?
I'm sorry, Steve, could you repeat that?
Have any Minnesota political leaders showed up at the site that you are standing at now?
You know, not that I have seen, but it has been a steady stream. It would be impossible for me to know throughout the day because I did leave it a period of time. Not that I have seen, but I know that there was a press conference.
They are there now, Maritza.
Well, many hundreds of people here now. When I was here yesterday, right when I got here, Steve, this intersection behind me was fully full with people, and they were chanting and marching, and this whole block was full of people. Glam Doll Donuts is right here to my left behind me, and you'll see on the windows those little diamonds. That is where that first video that we saw took place. That video was taken inside Glam Doll Donuts, and they have been, along with the other businesses along the stretch, I mean, people have been coming in and out all day long, both yesterday and today, and they're welcome in these places. Come get warm. We see people out here. There's a covered bus stop behind me here, and there were 2 women earlier. One of them was a nurse. They brought crock pots full of soup, donuts for people, coffee, hand warmers. Everyone's out here encouraging people to be here peacefully. Come get warm. I mean, it is frigid, but it's not stopping this community from coming out and not only paying their respects, but really demanding justice, demanding accountability for what happened here yesterday.
I see some local police cars behind you. If you had a chance to talk to any of the local police officers, what do they have to say about what's happening in their city, and what's their demeanor with you?
They're very friendly. They're here really trying to secure this area. This street was entirely closed yesterday, and it was filled with people. They reopened it to traffic today, and there's been a steady stream of cars. But really, they have been just kind of coordinating people. Every once in a while, we'll hear someone come up and say something about police or law enforcement. Important to note, though, Minneapolis police, very, very different from the federal agents we're seeing in here. I mean, yesterday on this block, we saw federal agents completely clash with protesters and indiscriminately spray irritants at protesters, throw gas. I talked to a medic yesterday who was down here volunteering. He told me that he was splinting broken bones from just the assaults and the aggression from federal agents with the protesters immediately after. Now that has stopped, that has subsided. I have not seen any federal agents any of the times I've been down here today or yesterday. But again, just all kinds of support, all walks of life, all kinds of people. We see kids over here across the street right now. I saw babies here earlier, and people just kind of wanting to come, not just be part of their community, but like I said, really demand justice. You see so many signs right now, justice for Alex Pretti, and all of these signs. Nurses thank Alex for your compassion and love for everyone here. You will carry on your work, Alex. And that really goes with the statement that we saw his family release, saying, the administration is lying, and please tell the truth about our son. He's a hero.
What do the people there want to see happen?
It depends who you ask. It depends who you ask, Steve. I mean, some people have said they want to see more from the governor. They want to see more from our state leaders pushing back. I've heard other people say, well, hey, we don't want a civil war and we're trying to walk a fine line here. The governor enacted the National Guard. There is concern here among, I've talked to some of my friends who are parents in this community. There's concern about what that looks like. You talk to city police officers, you talk to National Guard members, they live here. This is their community too. And so emotions are high and people are raw and they're exhausted. And so there is a huge concern about what might happen if we see a big influx of federal agents combined with the local law enforcement and National Guard combined. So I think everyone's just on edge. But one thing is for sure, they want this to stop. Everyone says, ice out, ice out. You see signs everywhere. Right across the street here, you can see signs. Neighbors say, ice out. And so all around here, signs in windows and apartments, in the storefronts. And, we saw what the letter that was sent by AG Pam Bondi yesterday, right? Making demands about voter rolls. And that's the promise to get ice out. So people here they just want this to stop. And it doesn't seem like the administration is going to back down.
Are the people standing by their governor? Are they disappointed in Tim Walz? Are they behind him? What is Tim Walz doing, and how is he doing in this moment?
Again, Steve, it just depends who you ask. Some people are really angry and they want to see more being done. And some people think that he's doing the best he can in this circumstance. I've had some people say, well, what about the fraud? I mean, this is not about the fraud. This is not about the fraud. People's lives people have lost their lives. Families have lost their loved ones. So I think it's just a mixed bag depending on who you ask. But at this moment, I think there's more focus on the feds and why these federal agents continue to come into Minneapolis. 3,000 federal agents, like you said, 5 times the manpower of the Minneapolis Police Department.
When you came into Minneapolis, did it seem off? Did it seem like an occupied city from the moment you hit the airport? When did you start running into what we would describe as Trump's America? What was your first contact with things are not the way they used to be in Minneapolis?
Yeah, I mean, well, right away things seemed off because everybody was just so sad. There was just a somber mood right when I got off the plane. Everyone just looked alarmed and beside themselves. I got on the interstate. I really didn't see much. You see the occasional signs, but it wasn't until I got probably, maybe 15 blocks away from here, we hit downtown and then kind of drove into this neighborhood. My childhood friend drove me in, and you start to see just cops on every corner, and there were all these roads were blocked off too. So that was obviously different than how it normally is. But beyond that, on these corners, which is really speaks to this community, Steve, there are just little huddles of people with whistles. And they're just looking out for people and looking out for their neighbors. And they're out there just taking, shifts to try to be observers, look out for their neighbors, knowing full well what could happen to a peaceful observer, as we've seen now twice.
When you are talking to people, are they more resolved to observe, to be engaged, to push back, or have they been intimidated? Do you expect the resistance to grow, or do you expect it to wither as we get ready to start the week here in Minneapolis?
I think it will grow, Steve. You compare, what we saw just yesterday morning to the day before. 50,000 people in sub-zero temperatures in downtown Minneapolis peacefully taking to the streets. And then this happens the very next day. This community is not going to back down. They rallied together after George Floyd. They rallied together after the political assassinations this summer. They rallied together after Renee Good. This is only going to further bring this community together. I talked yesterday, you'll appreciate this, I was down here and I talked to one of these rally organizers. He's a Trump voter. And I asked him, what do you think? Would you still support the president today? And he said, no. Look at this. Look at this. And then he mentioned the story that we also need to keep mentioning with this, and that's the Epstein files. Your Governor Walz said the same thing today. You know, that was a really big turning point for a lot of these supporters. And now we have this. And I think I'm so interested to see how this narrative plays out, Steve, because not only do we have people saying he failed us on the Epstein files, but now we have the president going after the Second Amendment, right? And this man was exercising his Second Amendment rights. And the president said this morning on True Social that something to the effect of only criminals carry guns on the streets. I already saw the NRA come back against that. So I think we're going to see a very, very interesting conversation come out of this event. And I worry about what comes next, though.
Have you seen any armed citizens on the streets in where you are?
No.
There have been reports that there were 2 Minnesota citizens with rifles at that spot overnight. Of course, the Second Amendment gives people the right to bear arms, and Alex Pretti had a lawfully registered weapon, as was his right to have, as was his right to record, and the government had no right to take his life. Is there a would you say, with people that you've talked to, Maritza, that the fear level is, and how would you describe the level of fear in the city that people are feeling and dealing with?
Well, there's so many layers to that. I mean, there is a fear about what happens if they're just out, observing these operations, right? Like we've seen now with Alex Pretti and Renee Good. There is a fear from my friends who have kids in school about what they're being exposed to, what their kids are being exposed to. I posted an email that one of my friends got from their child's school the other day, and it was an email warning parents about flyers that ICE was sending out offering food help and food delivery to these families as a way of entrapment. There is a huge fear about what's happening actually inside schools. My friend's daughter, 2 families were just detained in her high school in Hopkins. So there's so many levels of fear, not to mention what happens when we see more federal agents hit the streets clashing with protesters, when we see more people being hurt. A very well-known news personality, journalist here named Jana Shortle, was right here yesterday, and she got hit in the face and gassed, and she had her full press credentials out. She was behind the line. So people are also afraid of just the unpredictability about what comes next and what they could run into, and just the aggression and the aggressive tactics that we're seeing.
What do you see ahead for this week as we get ready for the beginning of the work week tomorrow in Minneapolis?
Well, I see the administration doubling down, and there is a lot of talk about whether the president is going to enact the Insurrection Act, and I don't know what that looks like on the ground, but there's certainly a lot of fear, and I worry as more of these operations take place and more people hit the streets. I mean, everyone out here has whistles. People are passing out whistles. I just worry about more clashing. You're going to see people here right now asking Minneapolis police,
Alex,
what are you going to do?
It's not fair!
How many more lives are going to be lost
He was
before
a
you
good
do something?
person and so was her name! When are you guys finally going to stand up and use your voice? Right now! Right now! Right now!
they're asking, when are you going to stand up and use their voice? And they're talking directly to Minneapolis police officers kind of surrounding this scene.
We're talking to the media.
Well, a tense scene in Minneapolis. Rita, it's been great to spend a little bit of time with you. Any last thoughts on what you're seeing?
My last thought is just know that this city, I will tell everybody who knows me knows I talk about how much I loved growing up in the Twin Cities metro area. This city is a vibrant, loving, caring place. And to see this administration paint it as a hellhole and a violent place and just make it all about fraud and all of these other things. This is a caring community, and it's hurting. And if you have any friends or loved ones in Minneapolis, please check on them, because there is just a collective sadness that's just hard to describe.
Terrible days have come to Minneapolis in the state of Minnesota. A federal occupation, 3,000 African-American Gestapo yesterday. They tackled a man to the ground. They disarmed that man who posed no threat, who was legally carrying a weapon. They shot him in the back 10 times just yesterday from Minneapolis. An appalling moment. Thank you, Maritza Georgiou, for bringing it to us today. Thank you.